Now it's time to start thinking of rendering this, and we're gonna start with just the artifact. So I'm gonna hide the core for now. The main goal is to pretty much just light this from the core, based on the core, from the center out. We'll also need some light, some environment light around this. Otherwise, it's gonna be pretty dark. We can start right at this point. It's a very basic object with some interesting shapes, and let's see how we can light this. I'm gonna switch my user interface. Instead of split horizontal, I'm gonna switch to a split vertical. I prefer this when I'm working on shading and rendering. So what I tend to do is here, I tend to go to out, and let's create a Redshift node. Okay, and just gonna put this here. And I'm gonna press Control 3 so I can easily come back to the rendering section. And here I'm going to go to materials. You can create your own material network as well. Either way, it's as you prefer. In this case, it's a very simple scene, and I'm going to pretty much just gather everything in there. So I'm not thinking of taking this to another file or something like that. So it's just going to be rendered here. So I'm just going to go and use the material section. So here I'm gonna create Redshift material builder, and I'll call this artifact plates. And I'm gonna press Control 2 so I can easily switch to the shading section. Okay, back to object, and at object, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, so we already have a camera. This slide is going to be, I'm not going to be using this slide. I'm going to start with the environment light. So I'm going to remove this one and create Redshift light dome. Okay, and here we'll need a dome map. You have many different types of options for free, amazing quality HDRIs. I'm going to give you some examples. So here at HDRI Haven or Polyhaven, with the section of HDRIs, is probably one of my favorite resources. I'm a Patreon, and I think everyone that uses it should contribute if you can. It's really amazing the amount of resources these guys are making available for free. So it's great that if we can support them. The other option is HRI, the HRIs from Polygon. It's not free, but it's pretty affordable. Amazing prices, amazing quality assets from textures, models, and HRIs. I really like their HRIs as well. And in this case, I'm going to use this one, the Moodlit character. So on the HRIs, you have studio lighting, and then you have characters. And I just went with one of these called Moonlit that I thought looked great. So I'm going to go with that. So I'm just going to paste the path. Okay, so we have that lighting in, and let's see how this looks. Depends on how you like to work. I'm going to go with the render view for now. Not going to change anything here. At this time, we can pretty much just render this at half resolution. The camera is already very low res, but it's just for lighting purposes at this point. I'm just kind of figuring out if the light dome is actually works, if I need to rotate it, if I need to adjust density and stuff like that. So I'm not going to change anything. Just go to render view and start, hit play. I didn't change the name of the camera, so it's going to be grabbing cam 1. So it's cam 1 that I have. Let's see if there's something in here. There is. And what else do I have there? There's an object there. That's probably from the light dome itself. So let's make sure we disable background so it's not visible. And as you can see, it's a really nice lighting to start from. So I'm gonna keep this and just let it be, and start shading. And I'm probably gonna start shading at this resolution. Some people prefer to work with render view. I also like to work with render view, but from Houdini. But Redshift render view kind of seems to be more stable. I guess that's mostly the reason. So I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna stop the render at this point, close it, and I like have my colors yellow. And what else? Okay, in regarding the organization of the scene, I don't usually render the dev object. I usually create a geometry container. It'll start as RNDR render artifact. I'll color it red, and in here I'm gonna just do an object merge. Complex stuff I would most likely just cache it and load it, but in this case it's really very fast, real time, so there's no need to overcomplicate things. So it's just, there it is, the artifact, and this is what I'm going to be rendering. I'm going to assign a material to this. Let me go to the section of the materials. So I already have artifact plates. Let's start with that. And here we will have two materials. We have two different groups, as you can see here, plates and frames. So plates, we'll have this shader, and the other thing is the frames, which will have a different material. We can just copy and to change the name to frames. There it is. And click and drag. This is really very practical. And once this is set up, I can go back to, actually, let's go to shaders here, renders here, open this again, and just hit play. Artifact plates. So now if we change color or something, we should see the feedback real time. Okay, my goal for this is to have, still going to play with the colors that we had on the object itself. You can kind of play with that, but I'm going to start with a fall off actually, or a Fresnel in this case. The idea of going with Fresnel has to do with the fact that I really like the idea of having slight shading or color variations based on the angle of these faces, and because they are hard safe, because this is kind of an hard surface object, we should be able to distinguish some of those variations pretty easily, and that's pretty cool, I think. So I'm going to go with, for now, I'm not going to use the index of refraction. I'm going to control it with the curve fall off, and just for the sake of demonstrating how this is going to work and how it looks, I'm gonna put this back to real time. Let's turn on this so we can just see the effect of the Fresnel. So right now the transition is going to be all the faces that are facing towards the camera in a perpendicular fashion will look black, have the color black, and perpendicular faces will tend towards the white. In my case, I actually want to go between blue and black. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go with. You do have the curve fall off that you can play with to control how that transition is happening. So I like this value, value of 2. So we have actual black here pretty much, and then a mid gray, and then another value there. I'm just going to switch this to blue, so we'll have blue facing towards us. And then on the side, I think it's cool to have it go not towards absolute black, of course, but something close to that. So 0.02, 0.02, 0.02. So it gets darker as it goes to the side. It usually works the other way around actually, but in this case, I think this is going to be an interesting effect to have. Okay, so we get this extra readability of the volume just based on the contrast that's coming from the Fresnel. The other thing that I want is I also want to make sure we have some refraction on this because we do have thickness on the object and we do have several things happening inside here. So we do want to be able to look through those surfaces. So I'll definitely go into the refraction section and I'll make sure to add some refraction in there, probably contaminated. So it's not going to be all white. Full white. Let's just refresh it. So refraction, so white, and so it's not this. Let me stop and actually put the no override on the resolution, so we can have a better look at what's going on. So this is definitely an interesting look, but I'm not going with a full refraction on this. First, I want to actually make sure that we have some blue in this, very light tint. I think it'll be an interesting thing to add, very light tint, something like this, and not full on refraction. Sorry. We do want to leave some room for reflection to show through as well. The other thing is the index of refraction. So let's see, 1.5. Let's go with 1.6. The higher it goes, the more reflections we're going to get. So in this case, it's something that I think it'll be interesting to have. And what else? So we're not seeing almost anything through. So let's adjust the value till we actually do. Okay, so this seems like an interesting value. I'm just going to go outside to the other shader, the artifact frames, and give it just a color, just so we can clearly see where they are. Remember, the values shouldn't go too high if we want something more realistic. So yeah, something like this, I think it's enough for us to be able to read what's going on. And I think these values are working in terms of artifact plates. It could be interesting to add some roughness to the refraction as well. So let's give that a try. Right now it's linked to the refraction, the reflection, but I don't want it to be linked. So let's go 0.2. Here I do. Oh, we can keep 1.5 here. But 0.2 will introduce some slight blurriness to when we see through, and I think that that's going to work in our favor. I think this is already an interesting look. You can stop and go through the timeline till you get to, let's go to the camera, see if we can get an interesting section here, something like this. Let's see how this is looking. Okay, I want to make sure this is a bit bigger. I want to see this at 100%. And let's give this a try. Okay, I think it's an interesting look for sure. We can also start adding the light inside, because that's one of the most important things that we'll have in the scene. So let's give that a try. Go to object. I'm going to minimize this for a moment. So besides the light dome, and I do like to put this LGT dome, I'm going to go with a light, and I'm going to change this to area, and it's going to be not a rectangle but a sphere. Just going to make sure to reduce the size a lot, so we want it pretty small, smaller still. So remember that our source went down to 0.03 if I'm not mistaken. Here, let's just check. 0.03, yes. So I want the light to go probably around that, maybe a bit smaller. So 0.0, oops. So 0.025 or 26, something like that. And let's keep it pretty intense. I'm gonna turn off. I'm gonna not turn off. Let's take advantage of the interactive rendering and just have a look at how this is working. Okay, pretty cool. We have this glossiness, the roughness on the refraction, which gives us this interesting effect, I think. The light intensity seems to be working as well. Let's go to another frame. An interesting effect we have there. Okay, so I think this will work.